Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Effective Resume Thursday. It's January 18th, 2024. Please note this event is being recorded and is currently live on Facebook. The recording will be on the Career DFW Facebook page and the Career USA YouTube channel for others to view in the future. By participating in this event, you give consent for your name and picture to appear. Please note that any comments you put in the Zoom chat window will not appear in the recording. For those people on Zoom, if you have any questions throughout the presentation, please just enter those in the chat window. For those on Facebook, you can enter any questions you've got into the comment field. Also, for those that are on Facebook, for those that are on Zoom, you're welcome to put your contact information in there. Connect with everybody else who's on the call today. Expand your connections. We will have time at the end of the session to look at 1 or 2 resumes today live. If you'd like to submit your resume, you can do so via the chat box for those on Zoom. Delete the header information though, please, because your contact information will be out there forever and ever. And if you don't want to see that on YouTube and Facebook, that'd be great. So just if you're going to send it to me, click on the little file container down there and send it to Jeff Morse host. So that way it gets to the right computer, and we'll take a look at those later in the presentation if you'd like to. All right. Well, good afternoon. My name is Jeff Morse. Back in 2008, I started a website called careerdfw.org, a website to help those unemployed in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. In 2012, I launched a second website, careerusa.org, to help those around the United States. I have written a book called What I've Learned About Your Job Search That You May Not Know. It is available on Amazon, or if you see me in person, I always have copies with me. Since 2007, I've been facilitating and leading the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group. That group's been around since the late 1990s. I took it over in 2007. I'll tell you about our upcoming program tomorrow morning at the end of this session. And since 2017, I've been a member of the Practice Interview Team, also known as the PIC Crew. Remember, your resume, your LinkedIn profile, they're not going to get you a job. All they do is they get you a phone call. How well you practice your interviewing skills, that's what's going to get you your next job. So consider, signing up. If you want more information, just reach out to dallaspiccrew.com. All right, so here's our agenda this morning. Let me flip over, let me change some slides around a little bit here. So our agenda, the first part of what we're going to do is we're going to talk about the ATS system. We're going to talk about a one-page bio. We're going to talk about a master resume. We're going to talk about the key components of a resume, which are pretty much generic. I think these are things you can use every place you're at. And then the second part of the presentation, if anybody wants for me to look at their resume, and I see we've got one already submitted, so we'll take a look at that at the end of this session. I think this is very true. You want your resume to be the one that somebody remembers. You want your resume to be the one that is going to stand out. It's going to tell the customer, it's going to tell the company what it is you can do. All right, so we're going to start out today with a little bit of guidance. This is from the Resume Writers and Career Coaches, the Professional Association of Resume Writers and Career Coaches. They've got just some basic things, and I thought these are just some basic things that everybody needs to just sort of be aware of, and this is what they recommend. Number one, you want your resume to be easy to read. Very, very important. If your white space is good, if you have text, big giant text blocks, that makes it very hard to read. Resumes aren't read, they're scanned. So how can you make your resume that's easy for somebody to scan? You've got to make sure that the resume is free from spelling, punctuation, and grammatical errors. We'll talk about grammatical errors here in just a little bit. But punctuation and spelling, it's got to be consistent, because if they find a mistake, what are they going to do? They're just going on to the next candidate who doesn't have a mistake in their resume. You could have the perfect resume with the right details, but you've got something that doesn't line up right. You got something that's misspelled. They're going to go, well, you don't have an attention to detail. Be sure to spell out any acronyms. Yeah, I mean, if you're, project manager, PM, project manager, you don't want to put just PM. The first time you do that, spell out what it is. Any special acronyms that you use, the first time you use it, spell it out and then put the acronym in parentheses right after it. Then you can use that acronym later on throughout your resume without having to spell it out a second time. But the first time you put it on there, always spell it out because not everybody knows what everything means. Be sure to focus on the skills related to the job, to the targeted job. I see so many resumes when I do the practice interview team and I have a job description and I have a resume. A couple of weeks ago, I had a resume, the person who was being interviewed, they had so much stuff on there, and it's just like 4/5 of the stuff doesn't relate to the job we're talking about. Just tell them what they want to know, because what do you want to happen? You want them to pick up the phone and call you. How are they going to do that? If they see a good match of, here's what we're looking for. Oh, look, this person does exactly what we're looking for. Don't tell them all the extra stuff. Everybody here's done a lot of really great things, but you really got to focus in on what it is that they're asking for and just tell them those things, because what do you want to do? You want to get that phone call. Be sure to include qualitative and quantitative accomplishments. I looked at a resume this past week, somebody sent me looking for advice, and in the 2 pages of the resume, I think maybe 3 or 4 out of, let's say, 30 bullet points had results. It's very important to tell somebody what you've done and show them what you've done. You can talk about, well, here's what I've done, and that reads like a job description. But if you show me results, if you tell me how you increased sales, decreased shipping errors, whatever it is, that tells me what I'm looking for, because I'm looking for somebody who can do those same things. So very, very important to have qualitative and quantitative accomplishments. Do not put any graphics, any pictures. You don't need to underline or any boxes. And this is true, especially for the ATS system. Now, if you're sending a resume to somebody in person, you can have a little bit more stuff on there, but you never want graphics or pictures. It just doesn't work for a resume. I know even art students. My daughter is a UX designer, so she's a user interface designer for what you see on a computer screen. And when she got laid off from IBM, she put all these fancy graphics and stuff on her resume. And of course, kids don't listen to their dad. And, she said, oh, Dad, it'll be fine. Well, luckily, she was working with the IBM, gave her a Lee Heck Harrison or Right Management or one of those firms. And they said, you can't do this either. You've got to get your resume format like this. And the format's similar to what we're going to share today. So just be very, very careful about ATS system. We're going to talk a lot more about that in just a moment. All right, so let's talk about a resume versus a one-page bio. A resume says, help me, help me, help me, I'm looking for a job. A one-page bios tells somebody who you are, what you do, and on a high level, maybe what you've done in the past, some of your accomplishments. A resume focuses on work detail and credentials. A bio focuses on your major accomplishments. A bio can be used in many, many different places. It can be used for networking. It can be used for, if you had a website and you're, a company website and you're an officer at a company, here's who you are, here's what your past is, okay? A resume is strictly a job search tool. So personally, you got to have a resume, but I highly recommend that everybody get a one-page bio, because it's an extremely effective tool that sort of shows people what it is you do. Now, what's a one-page bio look like? So here's one. I know this is very hard to read, but just think about the formatting here. A bio has your picture on it. A bio has your contact information. A bio tells people a little one paragraph background, telling people who you are, what your background is. You can list your professional biography, the different places, what you've done, in a little paragraph. Education is listed there. Then over on the right-hand side, your professional achievements and successes. This is a great networking tool. If I was going to meet you at Starbucks to just have a networking meeting, if you sent me this document, I'd have a little bit of an understanding of who you are. Now, I would go look at your LinkedIn profile, because I'm going to want to find out who you are. But this is a great networking document, and it's got your picture on it, so I know who I'm looking for when we sit down at Starbucks. Now, here's another bio. So bios can be horizontal, they can be vertical. It doesn't make any difference. You can put a box around it, whatever it is you want to do. But what I want to point out on this particular document is what's over in the very right-hand column underneath his picture. He has listed targeted functions, which is good because this tells somebody the kind of positions you're looking for. But the next thing down, target companies, you've got to be very careful with this. If you're sending this to friends and family, that's fine. But if you're sending this to, professional contacts, so let's say you're interviewing, you're saying this to somebody who works at Coca-Cola, they're going to go, well, wait a second, we're not even listed as a target company here, and you've got PepsiCo listed, our major competitor, PepsiCo listed. So be very, very careful. If you're going to send this to somebody who works at a particular company that you're interested in working for, be sure to list their company first. Okay, you can list the other companies and their competitors, that's okay. But you want to make sure that you're always, you just got to be very careful with this. Okay, you don't want to restrict. It's always great to give company names out, to help somebody if they're trying, if there's specific companies you're looking for. That's great. You don't want to tell somebody, I'm looking for a position in North Dallas. I'm looking for a position in the, central Atlanta area. That's not going to help somebody with a job. You've got to give people company title, company names that you're interested in. There's a great book out there called Be Sharp, written by Minna Brown, talks all about one-page bios. I'll show you in a little bit where you can download. I've got those samples up on a website. You can download those bios if you're interested. The book is called Be Sharp. Be sure to get the second edition. The second half of the book is full of different bios, what they should look like. You can go out on Google, you can do it. This is Minna's bio that she's got posted. I have posted here. She's an executive coach. She's an author, public speaker. She trains coaches. And so this is more of an ad slick for her. It's professionally done. But bios they can look many, many different ways. It's really up to you how creative you want to make them. Okay, a master resume. One of the things I recommend everybody do is spend a few hours. I'm sure you probably have a file. I've got a file in my file cabinet here of old resumes that go all the way back to 1980. 1980 was when I had my first job. And I've modified resumes over the years, and so I keep a copy of just sort of showing, here's my, current draft resume. I recommend everybody get a master resume. And a master resume is everything you've ever done. Compile all that information on one big document, 10, 15, 20 pages long. You list all the jobs you've ever had. You put names and contacts. You put addresses down. Now, some of these companies may not exist anymore. That's okay. But here's the key. By doing this and listing all the areas of expertise and your certifications that you've gotten in software skills, you don't have to think about this in the future. When you see a new job description, you can go take your master resume, save it as whatever your naming convention is to save it as, and then eliminate everything that's not in the job description. By doing that, you don't have to go, oh yeah, I think I did this like 15 years ago, or yeah, here's a good bullet point. You can come up with all those star stories and you have all those things ready to go now. Okay, it makes you applying for a job so much easier because you don't have to think about and remodify things. You can just cut out all the old stuff and you're ready to go for something new. So I highly recommend master resume. I think it's a great idea. Once you've done it, it's always there. And then update it every 6 months. From now on into the future, every 6 months, hey, when you go back to work, list a new company, Put in, then every 6 months, oh, well, here are the 3 big projects I worked on the last 3 months. Oh, here's, 9 months, a year later, here's 3 more projects to add to it. And just sort of keep adding on to it. So next time you get laid off, you're ready to go again. All right, so let's talk about the characteristics of a good resume. Why do you want a good resume? Well, the goal is to make it easy for the applicant tracking system and job screeners to determine that you're a good match for the job. I've talked about, and I'll talk about this over and over again. Job description, resume. How can you make a match so they want to pick up the phone and call you? That's the most basic thing. So basically, we're going to talk about formatting. We're going to talk about the overall length. And the question that pops up all the time is, how many years do you think should be on your resume? So there's 3 options here, and I'm gonna let people, if you will, in the chat window, you can list A, B, or C and let me know what you think. Option 1, do you show all of your experience? Option 2, do you show only the most recent 10 to 15 years of experience? Option 3, do you show the most recent 10 to 15 years, plus have a section called prior relevant experience? So option A, B, or C, if you want, type in the chat window. We've got a C, we've got a C, a B or C. Here's a B, here's a C. So I don't think there's a wrong answer here. I think it all depends, okay? I know somebody who was in their 60s who listed all of their work experience because it was relevant to what the job description was, what they were doing to show the experience of what she's done in the past. I know somebody who's only put the most 10 to 15 years. If that can sell you into the job, that's the key. If you're not getting phone calls about your resume, you need to change something up. Personally, I like see the best. The reason is because you show the most recent 10 to 15 years, and then a section called prior relevant experience. That prior relevant experience, and I'll show you that in just a second, all you list is the name of the company and the job title. No dates, no bullet points unless it's really pertinent to what you've done. And once again, you get this off your master resume. But by doing so, you then have the option when you're in an interview to be able to talk about, well, when I was at XYZ XYZ, when was that? Oh yeah, I see that's prior, those were years past, something I did back then. Because we've all had some really great stories that we could tell that maybe are not the most recent things we've done. All right, so let's talk about fonts for your resume, formatting your fonts. I like the following 4 fonts. I think these are the best: Arial, Calibri, Tacoma, and Helvetica. Most fonts for this, I think they're clean. It's easy to read. The next couple fonts, Times New Roman, Garamond, Cambria. I'm not a fan of those fonts because I don't like the serifs. If you notice the difference between the first 4 fonts and then the next 4 fonts, the next 3 fonts, the ones at the top are just easier to read. Okay, they're cleaner, it's neater. No fancy fonts. Don't put any little telephones, no wingdings, no little house by your address, or you don't need to put a little telephone by your phone. No picture, none of that kind of stuff. Okay, it's just some ATS systems won't be able to handle it. Okay, margins generally 1 inch, top, bottom, right, and left. I know it's very, very hard. You're trying to get your resume down to 2 pages. You've already taken the font size from 11 down to 10 to make it to smash more stuff in. Maybe you just need to have less stuff. Okay, because you only need to tell them what's on the job description. You've done a lot of great things. You can continue to tell them about these other things. You just don't want to share. You want to leave space. Okay, white space, as I mentioned before, white space is good. It makes it easier for somebody to scan your resume. Bullets. If you're going to use bullets, it's got to be the bullets you see here. No little triangles, no little squares, no circles that are like just the outside of a circle. Nothing, no fancy anything. Some ATS systems cannot handle that, okay? It's okay to use bolding. It's probably okay to underline some things, but be very careful. If any of those words have a character that goes down below it drops down and merges into that line, some ATS systems won't be able to read that, okay? Using italicize, you can italicize things, but be very careful with what you do. Keep things consistent and simple. Do not use any text boxes, headers, footers, templates. Don't use shadows. Don't use any graphics in a resume. ATS systems, I've heard from recruiters who tell me, oh, I had the perfect resume. It was great, but there was no contact information on there. I guess the person must have put their contact information in their header. Our ATS system doesn't handle that. There's over 300 different ATS. There may be more, but I've heard there's over 300 applicant tracking systems out there. Everyone operates a little bit different, and it depends on what features each one has got turned on. So even the same people using the same two systems, it could be set up differently. All right, how do you fill a gap? So you haven't been working for 6 months, you haven't been working for a year. There's a couple things you can do. Number one, you can use a job title, something such as community leadership. You've been doing consulting work. You've been doing continuing education. You went back and you got some 4 or 5 certificates while you've been out. And then what you want to do is you can add a few bullet points to describe your work, even if it's pro bono work, as a consultant. If you volunteered someplace in a leadership role to be a volunteer, you can list that. Any certificates that you've received, you've gone back to continuing education, go back and show those on there. So here's an example. Community leadership and consulting, served as a panelist and coach for the Dallas practice interview team to help job seekers with their interviewing skills. Provided consulting services to a local nonprofit organization on how to prepare to conduct job interviews and how to evaluate candidates. Now, the local nonprofit happened to be her local church, but she didn't want to mention her local church because what if you don't go to the same church as she does? And one of the rules is you don't talk about politics and religion unless you're applying to work at a church or unless you're applying to work for a political campaign. No politics, no religion. So by just saying the local, and churches, they're local nonprofit organizations. So that made it generic enough and makes it sound good enough. So if whatever you've done, you can list something. I saw somebody who listed on a resume, they were a professional caregiver for their parent. And, they had to do that for a couple of years. The parent situation took care of itself. I don't know if the parent passed away or they moved the parent into a nursing home. I'm not sure, but, they made sure the last bullet point in there was, they took care of, all the financial records for the person. They took care of scheduling doctor's appointment, medication, and the last line was the situation has, no longer requires my attention or whatever. So just, something to let people know that it has taken care of itself. All right, so let's talk about the key components of a resume. You've got to have a header. You need to have a summary statement. It's not called a professional objective. It's called a summary, but you're not going to list the word summary. Key accomplishments, this is an optional area. This is usually done for salespeople who want to say, here's, their top sales achievements. It could also be if you're an engineer and you wanted to mention your top engineering software skills that you've used. That may be a same kind of thing. Professional experience, everybody has. Prior relevant experience, optional field, but I think it's really very important for anybody who's got over 15 years of experience to do something like that. You're going to list your education and your software skills. Education is going to go at the bottom, okay? Unless you just recently graduated with an MBA, then you can list it at the top because that would be like a current job that, recent graduation is an MBA, but you still want to list your other MBA stuff at the very, very bottom. Also, software skills. I had a resume I looked at a couple of days ago. No software skills. I don't know what they use. Now, I'm sure everybody used Microsoft Word and Office, all that kind of stuff. but what other kinds of proprietary software for that field, for that person's field, did the person use? List those things because that could be a keyword match. If you see it on the job description, you want to make sure it's on your resume. Okay, so let's talk about the header. You want the name. You want the name that you want to be called, okay? This is not a legal document, but you want to tell the truth. So what do you want to be called? Put in your name. If your name is hard to pronounce, in parentheses, I recommend you put a phonetic spelling of your name. Make it easy for the interviewer or the person reading your job description. Make it easy for them to be able to pronounce your name. You make it easy for them, you have a better chance of getting that phone call. You want your phone number, you want city, state, and zip. You do not need your street address on your resume, okay? But they do want to know what city and zip code you're in because a lot of searches they do are by zip code search. You want your email address and your LinkedIn address in your header. You do not want your email address or your LinkedIn address as a hyperlink. A hyperlink is, you type it and it turns blue and it underlines. You want to just put your cursor on top of it, do a right click and put on there, remove hyperlink. If somebody wants to go to there, they can just highlight the field, copy it, and then paste it into a field on a browser, okay? Also, by putting that line underneath the hyperlink line underneath the email or LinkedIn address, let's say you have a Gmail account and that G falls down and connects with that line going across. Some applicant tracking systems can't handle that. It'll throw them into a tizzy and that information won't show up there. All right, your summary profile. Excuse my cough. I've been fighting this cold for like a week now. A summary is not an objective. It's not what you're looking for. It's what can you do to help a company. All right. Don't put summary statement, professional summary, whatever. You want to list the title of the company, the title of the job you're applying for. If you're applying for a business analyst, you put down business analyst. If you've never been a business analyst before, you may want to put just a few words that's sort of similar to make that work. Excuse me. Your summary statement should only be 3 lines. It needs to match what's in the job description, okay? So make sure that you're pulling details from the job description, and I'll show you that in a second. We're going to compare a job description to a resume. Then we're going to talk about areas of expertise. You're usually going to modify this. I think there should be 9 of them. This is not a table. This is a tab, agile methodologies, tab, Scrum, tab, requirement gatherings, return, tab, relationship management, tab, improving processes, tab, development. So I'm using this via tabs. I'm not putting this into a field, because if you put this into a block of text, a block field with tables, many ATS systems won't read it. So those things won't get over there. But these items should be pulled from the job description, because if this is what they're looking for, this is a great word for a keyword match. Now, if I interview you at the practice interview team, I'm going to ask you, so I see you've got 9 things listed here. So what are your top 3? Your top 3 need to be the 3 at the very top here, or the 3 over here on the very, very left, okay? You don't want to tell me that your top 3 things, well, I'm really good about user interface and developing test plans and requirement gathering, okay? So make sure your top 3, if are really on the top 3 listed here, making it easy for people to see those things. Remember, people are scanning your resume at the very beginning. Okay, your key accomplishment area. This is good area and a bad area. For salesperson, you got to have it, but if you're not in sales, get rid of it. You don't need to have it. But the problem I have with this area, okay, you're showing results here, which is great, but I want to know what company you did this for. Okay, now you don't add the company name because you just want to show results here, but you've got to make sure that these bullet points also appear in the experience section of each of the jobs that you've had. So I'll see that this is where you did this at, okay? This is my problem. So like I said, this is my one problem I don't like about with key accomplishment areas. Your professional experience. Number one, it should be chronological. Some people talk about a functional resume. I'm not a fan of those. Most people are not a fan of those. They want to see a functional resume, you know, most recent job on the top, the next most recent job down, the last job you had at the very, very bottom, okay? It is very, very important that you use parallel verbs. And what I mean by that is, if you're currently at a place, if you're currently working, you want those verbs to be current and not past, be in current present tense, not past tense. Okay. So for example, here, current job, all the current text are in red, the present tense are in red. The past tense job for that company B, past job that I used to work at, they're all in past tense, engaged, transformed, reduced. This will get you kicked out by a recruiter because they're going to go, you're not paying attention to the detail here. Okay, so be very, very careful about this. Now, you can have present and past tense at a current job because maybe it's a project you worked on a couple years ago. So that could be something you did in the past and you can have it as past tense. But just any past job, if you're no longer working there, all your tenses need to be in past tense. I say you should include a one-line description of the company, okay? I don't know every company that's out there. I've been doing this for 16 years, and every Friday morning at the North Dallas Group, somebody will mention a company that I've never, ever heard of, okay? So put down a one-line description of the company. It helps somebody understand who it is. Even if it's a company, you know, you're working for Tesla, you're working for IBM, you're working for General Mills, everybody knows what those companies are. Just list a little one line. It's nice because you're going to be doing it for companies that maybe are smaller companies, especially maybe if you move from another city to here. I'm not going to know the name of that company in another city. Be sure to limit the number of bullets for each job. I think 5 or 6 are the most current, 4 or 5 for the next one down, 3 or 4 as you're going down. Farther down you go, the less bullet points you need to have. And like I say all the time, you've got to focus on results. It's very, very important that you show me what the result is, because I don't want this to read like a job description. The job description tells me, this is what you were supposed to do. Did you do any of those things? What are the results? Show me those things. Okay, professional experience. So here's the most current job, 5 to 6 bullet points per job. Bullets should focus on results. Well, I'm going to say it over and over and over again. And bullets should not sound like a job description. Okay. So what happens if you don't have them? Go through your resume and read every bullet point. And at the end of every bullet point, say, so what? So here's an example. Guided next phase brand evolution for a multimedia artist and managed film production and publishing. So what? Okay. You know, we asked the person, well, what did you tell me? There's no result here. This is what you were supposed to do. Did you do anything? Oh yeah, well, this increased the business opportunities, which led to 10 new commissions for my client. Okay. So let's rewrite that bullet point. Increased business opportunities, including 10 new commissions for my client, based on developing a full social media and PR strategy. Tell me what you did, what it resulted in, and what the result was. Very, very important. Okay, what do you do if you've had multiple roles at one company? A lot of us have worked. I worked at one company for 13 years and had 6 or 7 jobs there. How do you handle this? Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to list the company name once with the full range of dates. So you see over here on the very right-hand side, company B, city, state, and the dates that you worked there. And then for each of the jobs you had in there next to the job title, this is where you're going to list the dates you had there. By doing this, it shows you've had some continuity at a job for a longer period of time. If you had all those dates out there to the very right-hand side, everything right justified, I would go, are you a job hopper? Or wait a second, why do these dates overlap each other? Oh yeah, this is confusing. Like I said, I see resumes that people put all the dates right up next to the company name. You don't want to do that. Recruiters are used to seeing, they're glancing over this. They want to make it easy. They want to see, okay, this person had 2 jobs at this company. They were at each one of those jobs for 2 years. Here's what they did. Okay. What do you do about companies that change names? Oh, everybody has a company that's changed names. Some of them changed 2 or 3 times. What do you do? So you've got 2 options here. You give the current name of the company followed by the old name. XYZ company followed formerly ABC company. Second option is give the old name of the company first with possibly the date of the merger and acquisition date. ABC company acquired by XYZ in 2008. So, just whatever the most famous name of the company is, that's the name you're going to want to use. We had a gentleman here a few years ago, and he worked for Campbell Soup, the Campbell Soup manufacturing plant. I don't know if it's at I-20, out 30. I know there's a soup plant, somewhere around here in the next 20 miles or so. And he had listed this other company name. I said, "Oh, I thought you worked at Campbell Soup." "Oh yeah, the company changed names." I said, "Well, you want to list Campbell Soup acquired by the name of the new company, because everybody knows what Campbell Soup is. Nobody knows what company X means. They came up with this new name. So whatever the most famous name is, that's the name you're going to want to use on your resume, because that's what's going to stand out for most people as they're glancing through your resume. Education and software skills, you can list your degrees, the degree, the major, the school, the city, and state. You don't have to list when you got the degree. Dates are not important here. And then any skills you've got, Word, Excel, Outlook, PowerPoint, pivot tables, VLOOKUP, Access, Visual Studio, whatever it is. So let's say that you've never used Visual Studio, but they're asking for a Canva, or they're asking for Visual Studio, but you've never used that, but you've used Canva. Canva is similar to Visual Studio, allows you to do some of the same things. So after Visual Studio, in parentheses, I would put similar to Canva. Okay, that would give you away, or flip that around. I mean, Canva similar to Visual Studio. That way you're getting those keyword things in there. If they list a software skill on the job description, you want it on your resume to make it match. What happens if you don't have a degree? Write something like this: city, school, state, area of concentration, and the number of hours you've done. And you could even put down due to complete, estimated completion date, September of 2026 or something. Put down when you think you're going to graduate. So it doesn't look like you have. Remember the football coach who went to Notre Dame? He had a job there for 2 weeks, and so somebody found out that he fudged his education that he listed on his resume, and Notre Dame went, "You're gone." So just be very, very careful. Tell the truth in what's going on. Excuse me. Okay, let's talk about aligning a resume to a job description. Print out a job description, get a highlighter, whatever color you like, and highlight what you think are the important things on there. Just take a red pen and, underline what you think is important. Highlight what you think are the important things, and then take your resume and go, do I have these things in my resume? All right, so they're looking for a business analyst. So this person is put down as a job title, business analyst. So their name's right above it, business analyst right below. And then in their summary statement, they've listed that, they're an innovative business analyst. That they have business requirements, and they've got that in their summary statement. Improving processes, they've listed this as an area of expertise. Cross-functional, It's in their summary statement. Agile, Scrum, Visual Studio. You're making sure that these things appear in both places. Multiple sources, user manuals, process business flow, user interface design. So if you've done these things, make sure they're on your resume because you want to make sure they're matching. Remember, keywords are very, 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 very important, okay? Resumes are scanned, they are not read. The hiring manager may read your resume in detail when he gets it. The initial person, when somebody is just scanning resumes to begin, they're just scanning resumes to try to find 10 resumes that sort of fit the bill, and then they'll go back and maybe be more careful. So every resume goes into a yes, no, or maybe pile, and that's what they're trying to do. A resume will not get you a job, it only gets you a phone call. When you get that phone call from somebody, hey, thank you very much for calling, ask them, what was it about my resume that made you reach out? What was it on my LinkedIn profile that made you call? You never know, but once you find those things out, you then have a better chance of finding out what it is you can do and how you can help them. All right. If anybody's got any questions, if you will, let me know what questions you've got, and we will answer those for you too. I'm going to download these couple resumes that people sent me. Give me just a second here. If you've got a question, you're welcome to unmute your mic.
I'll go ahead and ask a couple of questions, if I may, Jeff.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Well, first of all, thanks again for this wealth of information. A couple of things. So obviously the content on the resume is designed to be optimized for the ATS scanner. But at the same time, there are some visual elements to it. So to the extent that you don't want to put, you know, headers, footers, anything else that can interrupt the ATS reading the actual text, if there's anything which is graphical that doesn't have any information in it that's useful at all, but may add to somewhat of a visual appeal, the scanner's going to ignore it. But when it gets into the hands of the recruiter, it may help to, you know, make it a little bit more readable. Any thoughts on that?
Well, all right, so there are a couple different things here. The resume that you're going to submit to the ATS system has got to be clean of all that kind of stuff. But a lot of times you can then attach, a lot of times you attach a resume and that's what goes and sucks the information and fills in all the different fields. That's what the ATS system is going to be using to verify, not to verify, but to try to match against the job description. But I have heard that most recruiters, and this is not true with all of them, because I've had one recruiter tell me, no, I never do that. But most recruiters only look at the uploaded resume that you upload. So if you do have some graphic detail, and if the ATS system keeps that resume formatted the way you sent it in, they'll see those graphical kinds of things. But like I said, there's some people, I mean, I knew somebody who had a link to be able to get into Monster, the back end of Monster. And when you saw a Monster resume printed out, it was horrible. It was unreadable almost because what the data that they were putting out, but it was primarily there for the ATS to make that match. So if you could send them whenever you can physically send, or whenever you can send a resume to somebody, a person, make it as pretty as you can. You could put a little bit of color in there if you wanted to. You could put a little bit of a graphic, you could. But for the ATS system, you want it as clean as possible. Otherwise, it's not going to read all the fields that you want put in.
Got it. And then a quick follow-up, if I may. I've been uploading a couple of resumes to Workday, which clearly has to be one of the bigger ATSs out there. And I totally like your idea, and I use it on my resume, of putting a one line beneath the company. But Workday at least interprets that as the end of the work experience, and it then creates another work experience for the rest of the achievements underneath it. So you got to go in manually and fool around with it. So that's the only drawback, I guess. But that's not going to stop me from doing that. But yeah, it's just an extra few steps you have to go through.
Right, right. Yeah, like I said, there's so many different ATS systems out there. There's 5 big ones. The 5 big ones are the five big ones that are out there will handle probably 80% of the job ATSs that are out there. But even the 5 big ones, they all have different settings, and so you've got to spend the time to go in and look. Did it load every field in correctly? Did it pull everything in?
The other
So
thing is Workday doesn't address your summary at the top of the resume, whatever you want to call that, nor the key achievements, if you want to put that there, nor the list of keywords. So I was perplexed applying the other day. I just didn't include that on the first one. And on the second one, I said, well, to heck with it. I've thought about it. I've worked on this content. Let me put it in. So I just created another work experience with that, with all of that content. And I don't know, I haven't heard back from them yet. So
yeah, I mean, there was a speaker who lives in the Minneapolis, St. Paul area. She hasn't been down here in a couple years, but she used to always say, don't waste your time applying for a job online, because you'll spend 2, 3, 4 hours going through, getting your resume done, going through, you upload it, then you got to verify that every field's got the right information on it. And then you never hear back from people. Or the next day you get a letter going, thanks, but we've already selected somebody else, or, your resume, there's generic things. And then 2 days later, you get a phone call from somebody going, oh yeah, we'd like to talk to you about the job. So you waste so much time that, I know you have to fill these jobs out for, you have to do the ATS systems for a lot of companies. But as soon as you do that, you've got to go see, how can I network my way in? How can I contact somebody in HR or the hiring manager or somebody in the company who can get my resume and walk it down to them? Because an ATS system, you've got a 1 to 2% chance of getting a phone call back. If you can get your resume hand delivered to somebody in HR or to the hiring manager, or get somebody internally in the company to walk it down there, it goes 40 to 50% chance of getting a phone call. So, companies would prefer to hire somebody that somebody knows versus just, Joe Smith off the street.
Yep.
Any other questions we have before we go and take a look at a resume? All right, let me pop up his resume here. This is the first one I got in. Excuse me. All right, they took their header information off. Thank you very much. Highly experienced professional, current senior operation manager position. So once again, I said, instead of putting down summary, what you'd want to put down here is maybe senior operation manager. Okay, so you're seeking a senior operation manager position, because a senior operation manager is what would be on a job description. You got to make sure your tenses are correct. A senior operation management is a type of position, but job descriptions don't have that particular title. So I would list that title right up here at the very top, so your name's up here, and then your job, that job title's here. I would keep this down to 3 lines, 4 lines maximum, 3.5 lines if need be. The reason being is, and I don't know if you need to say over 30 years, just say, you already said highly experienced, experienced manufacturing leadership, or you already got here, how can you eliminate a few words here to make things a little bit better? Once again, make sure these are some of the words that are in the job description. Key skills, strong, transparent. I'm not a fan of this kind of section. I mean, some people, put it this way, if it's working for you, continue to do it. I would just go, uh, you know, I read this and I go, well, everybody better be energized and motivated, you know? What do you mean by dynamic day? Give me, to day manufacturing operations. So you don't want to work evenings and nights and weekends. There's just daytime. I mean, I'm not really sure here. I got just a little bit of a question. Data driven. Give me an example. I want to know why. But this is the kind of thing that should be down here in your job description. So to me, these key skills should all be down here in the job. So career history, vice president of operations. All right. I would move these dates.
Okay. Sorry, I had to step away. I got a call back generated by this very resume.
Oh, well, good. Very good then. Go ahead and have a good call.
I know I'm good. I'm finished with it now. But the data, it's good feedback on the data driven. I need to be more specific.
Right. Okay, we'll go take that call and we'll take a look at the second resume that somebody sent in. All right, let me go take a look at the second one somebody sent in. Give me a second. All right, and let me share this. Let's see here. All right, let me change the view so you can see it. Okay, marketing consultant. Once again, I would say if you can get it down, the header information, I delete it so that people, it's not sitting out there on the web and everything. If you can cut this down to 3 lines, that would be better. Just because, people don't read a block of text. They scan and they're going to read first couple lines, what drew them in here. Key accomplishments, this is great. Tells me exactly what you did. Spearheaded the launch, wonderful. Executed 10+ new product launches, great. Marketing and leadership skills. Good. So here, let's see here. So you've got, by some chance, are these dates the same as these dates here?
Yes, they are.
They are. So I would delete the second set here because
That's a good catch. I've never even seen that before, and it's staring me right in the face right now.
So I like this. So Candy Communications, it was acquired by Skyverna. That way people understand, who it is. A great little one-line company, just saying what the company does. Associate Vice President of Marketing, 2020 to 2023, worked for the company. So, tells me how many people he worked for. So it gives me an idea how big his was. Creative messaging. So I would read this line here and say, so what? What did it do for you? Well, I said it boost promotions. And you've got, so here you have MWC, and I'm not sure what that is. I guess if I'm in the business, I may understand what that is, but you may want to spell that out for people.
Couple of comments here. This is a customized resume for indeed the telecom sector. So telecoms folks would know what those acronyms are. So to your point,
okay,
yeah,
that's good. Director Prodalox. So here we go. Great answer. You're giving people some meat, telling me what it is you've done. Fivefold, this is wonderful. Perform market research. This doesn't tell me anything. So if you've got a story that goes with it, that would be great. If you can come up with a, did you meet 100% of AT&T's target product performance targets? I mean, I don't know how you can, if you,
Put a quantifiable thing in there, yeah.
yeah, the more meat you can give me, the better off it is, okay? All right, Ribbon Communications is perfect, same kind of way. So here's he worked 2013 to 2020, but he was director of marketing from 18 to 20, senior marketing manager from 2023 to 2018. So this works great. Led, develop, execute. Good. All right, so this apparently that's in a header, which is not a good idea. So, you got to be careful when you're using headers. And you got to also remember, most people do not print out resumes anymore. They just look at them on a computer. So all they're going to be doing is they're just going to scan down and the document's going to be all there with it. We used to put the header and footer information on the second page in case when they printed them off, they didn't staple them together or they got lost. At least they know what page went with what. Nowadays, very few resumes are getting printed out. It doesn't happen anymore.
So I have a question on that. So actually, I deliberately put the second page, my name / continued. I deliberately put that in the header so that the ATES would miss it. Because
that's fine.
Yeah. And it's only for the purposes of printing it out would it appear. And, if the ATS misses it, that's great because it would mess it up.
Right. The other thing I would consider doing is maybe moving this to the next page. Oop.
Yeah, it was already there. I think by removing my personal information at the top.
Oh, right. It probably moved everything up. You're right.
Yeah,
You're right.
yeah,
Yep. So, okay. So dates here, next company, perfect. Yeah, so here's another little thing I've got. It's what I was going to mention. So down here, you've got just years listed, but here you've got years and months. I think it's perfectly okay to just on a resume, on a job application, you've got to have months and years. On your resume, just stick with years only. Okay. So, in this case, you already have that listed up here, so you don't even need this here. That's really, it was on there, it's not necessary from here to here, but 2000 to 2012, here you've got a couple different things. So, back up here where you've got these months, personally, I would take them off and just go with years. Nobody's going to know. I think, look at it. You've got lots of data on here, and that's the thing. People are going to be they're going to be looking here to all these numbers and seeing what you've done here, which is great. Perfect. Other professional experience. Would you want to call this prior? Well, other professional experience, that's fine. Schlumberger. So once again, no dates, not necessary. You just listed a job title, listed a couple bullet points to tell people what it is he's done. Perfect. Education. Perfect. Association and professional development. Associations you join, professional, great, awards, software. This is always a biggie. Just make sure that, if it's on the job description, that you list it there also. And then this is also really important here. Quite frankly, is this up in your summary statement?
No.
I would put that up there somewhere, multilingual, customer-driven product marketing and business development professional. Just put in multilingual up here someplace, because that may be what gets them to look at your resume even more. To be the very last line on here to me is, I think you're hiding this statement here.
It's to your point about only putting information on the resume that is applicable to the job. I'm always trouble thinking about whether to actually leave this off at all, because I don't want to to say that I'm fluent in Spanish or I can speak some French and German, because they might ship me off to South America or to Europe or somewhere. And I don't want to do that. So, you know,
Okay, all right, that's fine.
but in the context of bragging, because I can, then, you know, I guess that's why I leave it on there. But it's not like I want someone. Well,
You don't want to,
yeah,
you don't want to be dealing, you don't want to be doing that. All right, well, then if that's the case, that's fine. I mean, but once again, you just never know what little tidbit, why they
right,
may pull up. They may say, no, but we're not going to ship you off to South America, but you know, we need somebody who can deal with our partners down there,
right.
you know?
Yeah, it can be dangerous as well. And the reason
Yeah.
for that is I can speak German, but it takes me being immersed in the German language for 1 to 2 days before I become really fluent. So if they sprung it on me in an interview, that would be a train wreck.
Right, right. All right, no, I think this is, you know, overall, I think this is really, really great. You know, I love here, you know, you're telling us where you used to be, the one-line statement about what the company does. Really, I think it's a great job.
Thank you for the feedback. There's some things there I'd never even would have seen in 100 years.
All right. Okay, let me just check out any other messages, any other comments anybody has. Let's see here. Let me go zipping down here at the bottom. Yeah. Okay. Let me just share a few more slides. All right, there are a couple, we've got a whole bunch of handouts that you can go and acquire. If you go to the careerusa.org website and click on resources, and then come down to video and handouts. Okay, by doing that, you'll then see, if you scroll down to effective resumes, you'll see a sample T cover letter, our action verbs that we recommend, sample business. Oh, you know what? I'm sharing the wrong screen. Hold on, give me a second here. Let's pick the right screen out. There we go. Sample T cover letters, sample resumes, our bios, both those sample bios that we mentioned before. I've also have a couple things of action verbs. So I always think it's important to start out your bullet points and your summary statement. Start out with an action verb. And you know, what would be some ones that would be exciting that would catch somebody's attention. So all that's there. You can download all those at your leisure. Most of them are Word documents, so you can just sit there and play with it and change things around to make it fit for you. All right, Career DFW, Career USA, we're putting on training 4 days a week. Please join us, as I mentioned, tomorrow morning at the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group meeting, 9:30 in the morning. Lorraine Friedman, a certified professional executive coach, will be with us, and she's going to talk about how to stay positive during your job search. It's not easy. It's hard. Looking for jobs, hard work. So just some 6 basic ways that you can stay positive during your job search. Join us tomorrow morning, 9:30. If you live in the DFW area, come join us in person. She will be with us in person tomorrow. Or if you live outside the DFW area, you can join us on Zoom or Facebook Live. Next Tuesday for LinkedIn Tuesday, our speaker will be Ruth Lipsky. She's going to talk about LinkedIn tools for job seekers. Next Wednesday, the practice interview team will be meeting online. So it's the fourth Wednesday of every month. We'll be doing an online session. You will be able to watch an actual practice interview. It will be on Zoom only, will not be on Facebook, and there'll be no recording to watch after the event. So if you'd like to see somebody else be interviewed and you can't make it out to the practice interview team on Wednesdays, you'll be able to watch one online. Next Thursday, fourth Thursday of the month, Tom Jackson will be with us to talk about how to networking, some basic things. Tom's a program product manager, lays things out very simply, things. What do you need to do? Step 1, step 2, step 3. Join us for it. It's a really great informational program. This session has been recorded. You will be able to go back and watch it on the Career USA YouTube channel. Click on playlist. All of our videos go on to a different playlist. We've got 8 different playlists now. Just click on effective resumes. Click at the very bottom where you see that red arrow, view full playlist, and up will come a list of the different dates and topics. You can go back and find any topic or any title that you'd like and go back and watch those at your leisure. This presentation will be up in a couple hours. It usually takes 2 or 3 hours to get uploaded by YouTube. If you'd like to join the Career USA or Career DFW LinkedIn groups, you're welcome to join one or both. You don't need to live in the Dallas-Fort Worth area to join the Career DFW group. We've got over 15,000 members in the Career DFW group, and probably 1 out of 15 of those people, they're in the recruiting business. They're trying to find you. So if you join the group, please make sure your profile is mostly complete, because why are you on LinkedIn if your profile is not mostly complete? If you're not receiving emails about our workshops and you'd like to join the mailing list, just scan this QR code and just hit send, or just send a blank email to Career USA, the + subscribe at groups.io. You'll never be spammed, but what you will get is the topic of the day, the title of the day, and most importantly, the Zoom link of the day. That way you can join us every day that we're doing something. Please note, Career DFW, we're a 501c3 nonprofit organization. All of our speakers are volunteers. I'm a volunteer. Everything I've done over the last 15 years has just been to help you land your next great opportunity. So thank you very much for joining us today, everybody. Have a great Thursday afternoon, and we hope to see you tomorrow morning at the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group.